85, and that's lesson 3 in module 4. So 85. Okay? So let's start with Spark Your Learning. Today we're looking at how to estimate products. Emma works for Traveling Carnival. She needs to order 84 stuffed prizes for each of the 6 game booths. Emma estimates that she needs to order about 480 prizes. Is her estimate reasonable? So we're going to show our thinking. We're going to see if her answer is a reasonable answer. So let's start with 84. Let's take that number and let's simplify it. Let's round it. So if we look at 84, I'm going to round to the nearest 10. Okay, let's remember our rule. We're going to go to the number on the right, and we're going to look at that number in the ones place. If it's 5 or greater, then we're going to round up. So if we were to round up, we would say it would be closer to 90. But since it's a 4 in the ones place, 4 or lower, we're going to round down to 80. So our answer we're going to use is 80. So now we know we need about 80 prizes for each of the 6 games. So let's create a multiplication equation. Let's say 6 times 80. Okay, now let's simplify that just a little bit. That's the same thing as saying 6 times 8 tens. So 80 is the same thing as 8 tens. All right, well, what is 6 times 8? So there's our simplified problem. 6 times 8. 6 times 8 is 48. And then we're talking about 10, so we would say 48 tens. Well, let's think about that. What is 48 tens? 48 tens is going to equal 480. So now, let's think about it. Is her estimate reasonable? Remember, she said she thought she needed about 480 prizes, and that's what we came up with when we simplified that problem. Well, let's think about it this way. We know that 84 is close to 80, and we know that 6 times 80 is 480. So we can say that yes, her estimate is a reasonable estimate. Okay, so let's continue to look at these problems. Let's go to page 86. And if you need to, you can pause the video and finish completing the Spark Your Learning. Let's go to page 86. And let's look at build understanding. The roller coaster at the carnival runs for 6 hours every day. It can take 320 people for a ride each hour. About how many people can go on the roller coaster each day? So you know I like those keywords. Those keywords and word problems kind of give you my first clue as to what I'm doing today. And because I see the word about, we know that we are estimating to find our answer. So it says use a visual model to show how you can estimate the product 6 times 320. So remember, they're looking at 6 hours, and each hour 320 people. So that's where they got that multiplication equation. So the first thing I need to do is I need to create a number or round to a number that's easier to multiply. So I'm going to look at my bigger number. So that's 320. And I'm going to decide, is 320 closer to 300? If I'm rounding up to the hundreds, is it closer to 300 or is it closer to 400? Looking at the number in the tens place, it's a 2. So that tells me, I'm going to say that 320 is closer to 300. So I'm just going to write that up there so I don't forget it. Now, I'm going to create a visual model. Remember, a visual model is just a fancy word for a picture. So we want to create some type of picture to show our work. Well, if we have 6 hours every day and 320 people per hour, we're going to create 6 groups with 300 in each group. So the first thing I'm going to do is say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This represents 1 hour each. And within each hour, we estimated our number here, we rounded to 300. So we're going to put 300 in each group. Okay, so there's our visual model. This is showing 6 times 300, okay? Now, how did you change the numbers to estimate? Let's look at A. So a possible answer for this is we can say to estimate, how did we change the numbers? We took 320, so we rounded 320 to 300. All right, look at B. It says, what two estimates do you get for 6 times 320 when you round 320 to the 2 nearest hundreds? Okay, so the first thing that we did, we said 6 times 300. That's what our model represents in the box, 6 times 300. Okay, another way that we can estimate is instead of saying 300, we could say 6 times, the next number up in hundreds would be 6 times 400. So now we're going to multiply. Well, we've got to think about what's 6 times 3. So 6 times 3 is 18, and we're going to put 2 zeros. So that's 1,800. And then we say 6 times 4, and 6 times 4 is 24. And we're going to include 2 zeros and make that 2,400. Now, let's look at C. Okay, C says, which estimate is more reasonable? So now we've got to think about this. Again, looking at our problem. Carnival runs for 6 hours every day. Can take 320 people for a ride each hour. So our goal is to try to figure out what 6 times 320 is by estimating. So which one of these choices that we have here is more reasonable? All right, so I would say 1,800. Let me explain why. 1,800. 320, which was our original number, is closer to 300, okay? So 320 is closer to 300. So that would be my first explanation. It's closer to 300 than it is to 400. So 6 times 320 is closer to 6 times 300, which we said earlier is 1,800. So about 1,800 people can go on the roller coaster each day.